أو كيف السبيل.
Humanity sets the agenda.
The time is just gone 8:32 a.m. as we continue with the show this morning. And we're switching focus now to closer to home. We're switching focus to Africa. Now, we've known for a very, very long time that a country like Sudan has at one stage been described as the bread basket of Africa. And when one looks at the land and the ability or the capability of Sudan to actually feed the whole of Africa. But sadly, this is now a country that requires aid. And we know about the World Food Program that has been active in that part of the world. But subsequently, we've learned about the WFP suspending its food aid in South Sudan, stating reasons that funds have actually dried up. And this morning, we're joined by South Sudan-based journalist. We're joined by Manyuon Mayen Manyuon-tongmachar. Manyuon, good morning to you and welcome. We thank you for your time with us this morning here on Salam Media. If you could unmute your mic, please, Manyuon. Your mic is muted. If you could please unmute your mic. Yes, we are obviously waiting for Manyuon to unmute his mic. The mic is muted, and there's a little line that goes. There we go. Okay, Manyuon, good morning to you. You have unmuted, and welcome.
Good morning from Juba.
Yes. Now, we're just looking at South Sudan, and we know that this is a country that has had extremely a lot of potential as far as food is concerned, food production. And I mentioned Sudan, the land in Sudan has the ability to be the bread basket of Africa. But sadly, this is now a country that is requiring food aid. And the latest being the World Food Program, suspending its food aid in that part of the world, saying that funds have basically dried up. So can you just give us a background and an overview, please, of the WFP?
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Manyuon Mayen from Juba. I write for news agencies. I am glad to be hosted by Salam, humanitarian outlet, the news platform. Basically, in regard to the suspension of the humanitarian for funds, and basically by the WFP in South Sudan, I think, in my own perspective, this is likely going to affect over 60% of the country's population, because a lot of people have been reliant on the humanitarian assistance. And given the recent cut in the meantime, I think it would have an impact on the people. This would mean that the population would be in dilemma of starvation, and it will make young people who were absolutely doing some lifeline kind of businesses in the localities to be vulnerable. However, it is supposed to be appreciated that the WFP and other partners in South Sudan have been doing enough to cushioning the civil lives across the country. So, however, the recent cut is likely to have negative impact on the locals.
Well, certainly has, and we are talking big numbers. We're talking huge numbers of people, because we are hearing about the risk of starvation of over 1.7 million people.
Can you come again? Some network kind of stuff.
I say when one looks at the number of people that are at risk of facing starvation, we are not talking small numbers. We're talking of well over 1.7 million people who will be affected.
Yeah, if you might have been following South Sudan, you get to realize that most of the people depend on the humanitarian assistance, and likely with this case, I think a lot of states, and basically maybe over 60% of the country's population is likely to suffer, simply because if you might have seen the recent climatic change in the region, it has affected South Sudan negatively. And if we can talk of the courtesy of Upper Nile region entirely, you get to realize that Jonglei State is heavily affected. 80% of the landscape uh, has been affected by flooding, the same as Upper Nile. And these were some of the people who could depend on humanitarian aid. So, and seeing that there is a cut from WFP, and most of the population have been reliant on the aid, then and then we can likely estimate that at least over 60% of the country's population is likely to be affected.
Yes, and also when one looks at the World Food Program and also other humanitarian organizations that have been working in that part of the world, they have been severely affected by what has happened or what is taking place between Russia and Ukraine, because we've seen a massive increase in the price of food. So that has also been a factor as contributing to the World Food Program, obviously saying that they've run short of funds.
Can you come again? Some network kind of issues.
I'm saying the Russia-Ukraine war that is taking place at this point in time, that has contributed to the problem, because as a result, we've seen world food prices going up, increasing, and this has resulted in not only the World Food Program, but many other humanitarian organizations running short of funds because of these high food prices.
You basically asking about what the country should do, right?
No, I'm saying that the World Food Program has been affected by the rising prices of as a result of the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Okay. Coupled with the growing, skyrocketing prices in the market, and also the level of the and also the economic hardship of South Sudan. If we can add all the things all together, then you get to see that the level of vulnerability across this country would really be be at some level, be actually high, because if you might have seen last week, the market prices across Juba, they are actually they're spiking, and this is something which is very regrettable. A lot of locals are unable to buy food commodities in the market because of the fact that they are increasing. So, and if we add the issue of the fund cut, plus plus the struggling economy of the country, then the life of the civil population would really be in dilemma, and that is also going to trigger other things. For example, the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement would not be at stake, simply because a lot of people would be struggling to making sure that they really they really look for what they can eat in the meantime, rather than focusing on the nation building. And that means maybe a lot of people are going to be manipulated, maybe by the parties to the peace agreement, and even by by other uh, 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 by other by other people who are anti-peace, and then at the end of the day, they could think of something that can negatively affect the revitalized peace agreement.
Yes. Is there a plan to overcome the problem to prevent starvation?
Yeah, basically, in my own perspective, I would say that South Sudan at the moment is basically in starvation, not because of no food. We have food, we have vast agricultural lands. Uh, However, the challenge is that we're not adapting strategies on how to um, exploit this agricultural land. So we have vast land, and then at the same time, we have oil. However, here, what is supposed to be undertaken is for government to actually invest. Is for the government to actually invest in agricultural opportunities, then making sure that the uh, m- making sure that the vast land is exploited by the people, and then they adapt the modern agricultural tools, and then now be able now to support the locals, providing security, and then for local farming to be undertaken. Now, at the moment, people are only doing subsistence farming, which is of low scale, and the only way the country can churn and also prevent the starvation is to embark on agriculture, and then at the same time support the livelihoods through maybe enterprise development funds that would actually uplift the lives of the locals in the areas.
Yes, Manyuon, this is the problem that we are faced with in Africa, like in the case of Sudan. We have all the resources, but we can't fully exploit them for the benefit of the African people.
Yeah. This is absolutely right. But what it needs here is it's actually capitalizing on the available human resources in order to see the work getting done. We have the technocrats, but the challenge is that this kind of people are not being engaged. So you would see that the people, most of our countries engaged, like the courtesy of Sudan that you mentioned, you could find that we are engaging people on maybe loyalty basis, like like for example, if I'm loyal to you, then you can simply employ me because of the nature of relationship that we have. But here it's a matter of practicality, engaging someone who have actually background in agriculture, and then putting resources into developmental projects that would really that would really uh, s- save the life of the people.
Manyuon, thank you very much for that and for your time with us this morning. We wish you all the best, and we definitely will follow the situation. We wish you all the best. We thank you once again for coming on and talking to us.
I appreciate it. It has been good interacting with you, and I hope to see you again.
Thank you. Manyuon Mayen Manyuon, journalist from South Sudan, with us this morning against the background of the World Food Programme suspending its food aid in that part and citing reasons that they have basically run out of funds. And once again, we want to just reinforce Africa, and this is a common problem right across the entire continent, where this is a continent that is so rich in a resource, and yet it remains the poorest, or one of the poorest continents, in countries like South Sudan. It's just one example of the problems that are experienced by Africa, by the African people, as a result well, there has been the historical legacy of colonialism, but also underdevelopment, and also those that seek to exploit their resources from outside of Africa coming in and again, rendering the continent in extreme situations where people are facing high risk or huge risk of starvation. With that, the time is just gone 8:47. We come back. We're going to be joined by Imtiaz Sayed, Etiquini Secure. We've got the weekly edition of Crime Talk coming up.